Mr. Speaker, Sir, Honorable Prime Minister, Honorable Leader of the Opposition, Honorable Cabinet Ministers, Assistant Ministers, Honorable Members of Parliament, members of the public in the gallery, all Fijians listening to the proceedings of Parliament today. So I wish to extend my deepest gratitude to His Excellency the President, the Turang Tibakau, for his inspiring address and for outlining the government's priorities and necessary service delivery for his parliamentary session. His Excellency's address eloquently set the course for this government, providing a clear roadmap toward economic growth, environmental protection, infrastructure development, and national resilience. As we embark on this legislative journey, we are reminded that our role as policymakers is to ensure that no Fijian is left behind in our pursuit of sustainable development. As highlighted by His Excellency, progress demands vision, determination, and collective action. So as Minister of Public Works, Met Services and Transport, it is important that we align our service delivery to the coalition government's manifesto intentions and national development plan, which has set the clear directions in moving forward. This is to ensure that we serve the basic needs of our people in terms of infrastructure, such as water, roads, and electricity access. In terms of water, sir, we have a clear ambition, targets for our nation, and outline our government's commitment to advancing the water sector. Water is not just a basic need, it is a fundamental right and economic driver and pillar of public health. In Fiji, ensuring universal access to safe, clean, and reliable water and wastewater services is central to the mission we are in. Our approach is guided by key national and international frameworks, including the Water Sector Strategy 2050, National Investment Plan 25 to 2030, Sustainable Development Goals, SDG 6, Clean Water and Sanitation for All, our obligations under the Fijian Constitution, of course, and our resilience strategy in response to climate change. So, in his address, the President mentioned a rising tide lifts all boats, a sentiment that underscores the interconnectedness of our development efforts. This phrase serves as a reminder that progress in one sector leads to improvement across the board. When we strengthen our water and wastewater system, we do not just improve infrastructure, we enhance public health, empower economic growth, and safeguard our environment. The Water Sector Strategy 2050 sets the course for a long-term structured approach to achieving nationwide access to clean water and sustainable wastewater management with three key objectives: infrastructure resilience, modernization, climate adaptation, and resource management, and equitable service delivery. So some of the key developments I would like to share with the House include the completion of 31 major water projects across the country, including the Waila Offtake Pipeline projects, 14.8 million, impacting over 330,000 residents. Some other examples of key projects in terms of the 31.57 kilometers of pipeline extensions, the River Water Supply Scheme extensions, 13.8 million covering 24.5 kilometers of pipeline from the Sawani Nagali corridor, benefiting 6,500 households. Tangi Reservoir Inlet in Tavua, 3.1 million in terms of cost, ensuring 1,000 residents have reliable water supply. And of course, Nambuwalu Water Treatment Plant, as already highlighted. This project marks a significant improvement in water supply for the Nambuwalu area. Of course, some of these projects have begun in the last government, and we as a government have a responsibility to continue this to its successful conclusion. So the WEF has also successfully installed backup gensets at 14 major power stations. This critical infrastructure upgrade ensures that power is available during outages, allowing WEF to maintain uninterrupted services across key urban areas. Another key issue is the leakage in terms of reduction of non-revenue water, which is termed as such. WEF successfully reduced non-revenue water from 47% to 45%, marking progress in leak control and efficient usage. This translates into millions of liters saved daily. For the first time, WEF fully utilized its 133 million capex, ensuring the completion of key infrastructure developments, including wastewater upgrades, pipeline replacements, and rural water projects. For rural water cutting and rainwater harvesting, this delivered 135.2 million liters to drought-affected areas around the country. As part of our commitment to ensuring water security in rural and remote maritime areas, WEF has successfully completed 28 rural water projects benefiting 7,200 Fijians who previously lacked access to proper water supply. These projects involve the construction of new water schemes, installation of standpipes and shower heads in household providing these communities with a reliable and safe water source. Total project cost was 4.5 million. So 3,151 rainwater harvesting tanks were delivered to 4 regions, particularly in the drought-affected regions, including Tikina, Sawa, and Nadula. In terms of modernization of customer services, WEF has introduced an automated billing system via the Amazon Web Services for efficient payment processing, re-engagement with Post Fiji as an efficient payment processing and making bill settlements more accessible nationwide. So to support the implementation of the water sector strategy, we have aligned key projects with the National Investment Plan, and we will expand and upgrade major water treatment plants in Suva, Tokananja, and Lambasa to increase capacity in these areas and, of course, the quality and service reliability. Rural water supply systems will be modernized through borehole drilling, gravity-fed system, and desalination plants, ensuring that isolated communities receive sustainable water solutions. We are also concurrently discussing solar-powered solutions related to water pumps and desalination plants. Other initiatives are in place, and in terms of financing, currently we are working through public-private partnerships, concessional loans, and grants from development partners, green financing mechanisms, in addition to the regular budget. So a rural water supply and sanitation master plan is currently being developed by the ministry with the support of the assistance of UNICEF. This will include a phased investment plan to achieve universal coverage and will be a guide to a targeted implementation in terms of rural water. I make special mention of the Suva-Nosori water situation. The coalition government acknowledges the ongoing challenges at the Tamabu water treatment plant as a major facility. We currently, it operates at a capacity of 60 million liters per day, MLD, but is currently operating at 75 MLD to meet growing demand. So its ability to maintain that level of supply is greatly affected due to its lower capacity. The government, through Water Authority of Fiji, has developed comprehensive strategy. This includes solving some of the issues, installation of a trash boom at Savura pump or intake, bypass pumping systems to improve management, improve flow management at the Tamabu treatment plant, maximizing chemical intervention. The major improvements coming up for projects is the Sawani to Dolisua pipeline, pump station, and reservoir project. This tender has been approved, and the contractor is expected to commence work in April 2025. It is estimated to take 12 to 18 months at a cost of 35 million, and this should help a lot in alleviating the current situation. And of course, I mentioned the non-revenue water, which is the leakage, and a contractor has been assigned to work on that, to improve on that situation. And the other improvement is the new 20 MLD water treatment plant, and this is expected to tender this month, and we are targeting groundworks to start August 25. So with these works in line and projects, we anticipate that and confident that the above measures over the next 18 months and by the end of the 4-year term of the coalition government, the major water issues of Suva, Nosori, Tamabu, and Sakota areas will be just memories of the past. So in terms of transport, the government remains committed to modernizing Fiji's transport sector in the development, through the development of a national transport sector master plan and the transport decarbonization implementation strategy. These two strategic frameworks will provide the guiding principles and action needed to transition Fiji towards a sustainable, resilient, and modern transport system. The National Transport Sector Master Plan will serve as the blueprint for enhancing transport infrastructure and improving connectivity and fostering economic development, while the transport decarbonization implementing strategy implementation strategy will outline clear pathways to reduce emission and transition towards a low carbon transport future. So the government is committed to improving resilience transport and infrastructure landscape, providing safety to the public. This commitment resonates through the objectives and the plans of the Fiji Roads Authority for a broader transport infrastructure agenda. The FRA has made remarkable strides in executing essential capital road network projects. These include the replacement of crucial bridges, continuing from the work of the last government. Tabo Levu Bunyasi Tonge, Nasiani, and Nangara Stensoch. These projects exemplify our commitment to continue in this essential work. These upgrades have significantly improved access in terms of our economic activities. There's also other major projects, as you can see, such as the Suva bus stand. The benefits of this collaborative undertaking as we move forward will be further enhanced with our local governments, city councils, town councils, etc., in order to improve the infrastructure. Improvements will be made as we move forward, as I already mentioned. So there's also major road sealing and projects undertaken around the Suva CBD, upgrade of along Rest Street, 2.23 kilometers. This aims to provide more comfortable travel and also, of course, to rehabilitate those areas. Of course, there are ongoing upgrades to Princess Road. There are other upgrades, Lodala Bay Road, Kalsa Road, McGregor Road, Ratumara Road. Similar initiatives are being implemented across the Western and Northern Division with progressive work along Kings Road, and of course the rip and remake Buddha Bay Road, Transitional Road, and other current enhancements of Watunimbale, Lambas Hospital premises, and rehabilitation of roads in Wanikoro, Lambas, and along areas in South South. Planned improvements and currently ongoing for village frontages across divisions will enhance the quality of life at those in our rural areas. The government acknowledges the diverse needs of citizens, and in the rural road maintenance upgrades arena, it is currently engaged in extensive road rehabilitation works on Ngau Island, Moala, Koro, Konombalau, and other maritime islands. Sure, we do acknowledge some of the problems or challenges faced. For example, in Rotuma, equipment and personnel will be deployed to Rotuma in 1.5 weeks to upgrade the roads to standard. We look forward with clarity and vision to the next year. We have to prioritize management and maintenance in a more planned and structured manner. And of course, this means urgent upgrades and rehabilitating both land and maritime services in a timely and efficient manner. There is definitely room for improvements, and we are committed to that as a government. Yes, we do not profess to be perfect, but we'll continue to improve and deliver. So we are committed to extending the services to all road networks, and we have worked towards improving areas in the interior of main islands and also the maritime. We cannot, of course, ignore the pressing issues of urban traffic congestion, particularly in the Suvanosori, Lamin and the Lotoka and Lambasa Township, and joint stakeholder workshops have been held, and we continue to have that, and improvements in terms of traffic signal lights coordination and other measures are being coordinated with stakeholders and development partners. Moving forward, the program to upgrade and renew our major trunk roads and bridges to climate resilience standard will continue with the support of our major development partners, as already alluded to by the Assistant Minister of Finance early in the week. So, in terms of the Public Works Department, a key priority is to accelerate rural infrastructure development. The re-establishment will allow for direct government involvement in infrastructure projects, supporting public sector participation in these areas, and timely maintenance of roads, public facilities. Of course, job creation and skills development is part of that, and improving service delivery. Relevant PWD works are in progress on the ground in terms of maintenance of roads and key government buildings. PWD or the ministry has already purchased 2.6 million worth of heavy machinery to assist our development engineers. And some of the works completed or currently in progress includes Naisonga Road access connecting the William and Dolisuva, 2.5 kilometer Naiseralangi to Nalawa Road in Ra, the Nalindi Village Road upgrade in the Western Division, Nasele Road upgrade, Lea Road upgrade in Northern Division, 31 kilometers Wanombala Road upgrades, Matuku Road upgrades, and of course will continue towards Rutuma. So the ministry has utilized a total of close to 0.5 million in constructing and upgrading works with the 73 kilometers of roads around the country. Two of the notable project work delivery of the PWD building maintenance team are the furniture repairs and maintenance. And this includes this house and of course the president's residence. The intention too is to rebuild our workforce and capacity within the government, which has been decimated with the removal of the Public Works Department. These are technical areas which the government needs to rebuild in order not to rely and to be self-reliant moving forward. The re-establishment of the Department of National Roads is also one of the main reform objectives moving forward. In terms of Maritime Safety Authority, sir, Maritime is a key critical area in terms of the ministry moving forward, and we are steadfast in strengthening maritime safety and forcing compliance with national and international standards and enhancing service delivery. The other issue is the continued training in terms of boat license training programs, which we will continue to enhance in order to maintain the standards and safety. With the qualification and licensing department, sir, the department is currently improving its digital or internal IT systems so that these are developed and processed online, and that is part of one of the capital projects of the ministry. So, ensuring safe navigation within Fiji's waters is critical. And MSF has made significant progress in infrastructure development in that area in terms of 3 major lighthouses, navigational aids, including Pinda Reef Lighthouse in Lautoka, Bangka Southwest Reef Lighthouse, and Northwest and Suva Harbour Lighthouse. The energy sector, again, a critical area, and the endorsement of the National Energy Policy 2023-24 confirms our commitment as we move forward, and the target that by 2026, every Fijian should have access to electricity. Renewable energy sources will account for all electricity production by 2036, and 36% reduction in greenhouse gases. As already mentioned, there's currently a regulatory and a legislative gap analysis in order to better coordinate and regulate the energy sector in Fiji, and that report is currently being finalized and will be submitted to Cabinet for approval. The Department of Energy has done a lot in terms of extending electricity to our people. For grid extension and house wiring, the ministry has paid EFL around 19.1 million for the grid extension and house wiring projects, and these payments were made in the last 3 financial years, assisting 111 grid-funded schemes, which benefited over 1,500 households. And there is also, as at February 2025, a total of 38 schemes have been commissioned with a total cost of 2.13 million. EFL has a program in place to complete these programs for the next 2 years. So the solar system, home solar system, government has invested around $4 million in the 2023 financial year into the installation of solar home systems in our rural and maritime villages and communities, and this work will continue. The Fiji Rural Electrification Fund, a special purpose entity, again is an innovative approach to ensure that rural electrification continues in an effective manner in its implementation. So I'd like to thank our development partners, in particular for that fund. There have been various progresses. You have witnessed the Nasela Sele program, or rural electrification program that we recently opened, and the more solar energy program in Taveuni. This works will continue, of course. In terms of just coming to the end, the Fiji Met Services, one of the key achievements has been the enactment of the Meteorological and Hydrology Bill, which is a big milestone which will empower the Fiji Met and Hydrological Services to conduct its duties in a more effective manner, having practical provisions of weather forecasts and promote the collaboration between public-private sector engagement. I wish to thank the government of Japan, working through JICA, for committing to provide the financial and technical assistance for the proposed establishment of a regional center for the improvement of Met services and disaster risk reduction in the Pacific, costing $25 million, which will greatly enhance our climate services in the region. So we, in the ministry, have also made our formulated internal adjustments in terms of climate financing, with more targeted approach in terms of financing as we move forward, and also the internal capacity to have those skills in terms of project formulation and project management. To date, the Global Environment Facility has approved a concept submission of $3 million under its special small climate finance for infrastructure in vulnerable areas, and also includes assistance to the Water Authority of Fiji. The ministry has also made submissions to Fiji's eligible grant of $10 million at the Adaptation Fund. This was significantly progress in my face-to-face meetings with GF and the Adaptation Fund at the COP in Azerbaijan. So before I end, I would also like to share that the ministry had established a Marine Environment Joint Committee to hasten the solutions to the problem of derelict ships in Suva. And like to give on their work, in the progress of their work. As of December 2023, there were 44 floating derelict ships. Through ongoing efforts through this committee, this number has been reduced to 30, with 8 vessels scuttled at owner's cost, 4 resold, and 2 scrapped. So this work will continue as we move forward. There have also been concerns about the issue regarding the Denarau wastewater system. So this Denarau wastewater reticulation system and waste management system has been the same since Denarau was established, only one hotel. Now there are several hotels, and as a government, we have listened to the tourism sector and also the various stakeholders, and have worked closely with them in terms of progressing this project. And we are looking at...
Honourable Minister, can I interrupt? You have...
sorry. Finalizing this by the middle of this year. In conclusion, so I thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir, for this opportunity, and hereby support the Honourable Minister's motion that this Parliament thanks His Excellency the President for his most gracious speech. Good night.